There is a woman who does not know yet what she is about to walk into. She is living her life right now. Somewhere in this world, in a city Elon Musk may have never visited, in a life that looks nothing like his, she is waking up in the morning and making her coffee and carrying her own quiet ambitions and her own complicated history and her own set of wounds that have not fully healed. She does not know yet. She does not know that when she finally meets him, when their paths cross in whatever unremarkable or extraordinary way, that the paths of two people who are meant to collide always eventually cross. She will not just change his life, she will change everything. Not just for him, for the people who work for him, for the missions he is building, for the future he is trying to drag into existence through sheer force of will and vision and a refusal to accept that the world cannot be better than it currently is. She will change all of it. Not because she is powerful in the way the world defines power, but because she will do something no amount of money or technology or ambition has ever been able to do. She will make him still. And in the stillness, in that rare, extraordinary, completely human stillness that only one specific kind of love can create, Elon Musk will become something he has never quite been. Complete, stay with me, because this story is not really about a woman you have never met. It is about the person in your own life who might already be changing everything, and whether you are paying close enough attention to notice. We need to start somewhere unexpected. We need to start not with Elon Musk the billionaire, not with Elon Musk the visionary, not with the man on the stage, or the man in the headlines, or the man the world has constructed an entire mythology around. We need to start with the boy because everything, every marriage, every heartbreak, every reaching toward connection that has defined his personal life as much as any rocket has defined his professional one begins with the boy. Pretoria, South Africa. A house that is large enough on the outside and full of a particular kind of quiet chaos on the inside. His parents' marriage is fracturing, not loudly, not with the kind of dramatic explosions that children can at least point to and say that is what happened. That is where it broke, quietly. The way the most damaging things always happen, in the silences between conversations that never quite said what they needed to say, in the distance between two people who are still in the same room but have already, in every meaningful sense, left each other. And in the middle of that quiet fracturing, a boy absorbing everything, feeling everything at a frequency that is simply too high for a child's nervous system to process cleanly. He reads compulsively, hungrily, with the desperation of someone using knowledge as a life raft in water that is rising faster than anyone around him seems to notice. He finishes the encyclopedia. He finishes it and asks for more. He is the child who already knows the answers. The child whose hand is always up. The child whose mind moves so fast that the world around him feels perpetually, frustratingly slow. And that gap between the speed of his inner world and the pace of everything outside it creates something in him that will never fully go away. Loneliness, not the ordinary loneliness of a shy child, the particular, piercing loneliness of a mind that cannot find its match. His father, by Elon's own rare and carefully guarded admission, is not a man who makes his children feel seen, not through the violence the world would recognize and name, through something quieter and more lasting, the kind of fathering that teaches a child not with words, never with words, but with 1,000 small moments of withholding and criticism and emotional unavailability, that love is conditional. That safety must be earned, that the people who are supposed to simply, unconditionally, irrevocably love you might not. And that lesson, that bone, deep, really devastating lesson, becomes the invisible architecture of everything that follows. Because a child who learns that love is conditional does not grow into an adult who gives love freely. He grows into an adult who is extraordinary at building things he can control, and terrified in the quietest possible way of the things he cannot. He leaves South Africa at 17, alone, with a plan that is more courage than strategy, and a hunger that has nowhere adequate to go. Canada first, then slowly, determinedly, the United States, the country that exists in his imagination as the place where people like him are supposed to end up. The place where impossible things get built. He arrives with almost nothing. He works jobs that pay almost nothing. He eats whatever is cheapest. He sleeps on the floor of a rented office. He showers at the IMCA, and he codes. Through the day and through the night and into the early morning when the city outside the window is still sleeping. And the only sound is the particular silence of a person who is building something from scratch and has not yet told anyone it is going to work, because he is not yet entirely certain himself. His brother joins him. They have one computer between them. They take shifts. And somewhere in the middle of that grinding, glorious, completely uncertain season, he falls in love for the first time. Not with an idea. Not with a mission, with a person, Justine Wilson, a writer, fierce and intellectually alive and emotionally complex in ways that Elon, a person whose primary language has always been ideas rather than feelings, finds simultaneously magnetic and slightly terrifying. She does not dim when he enters a room. She does not simplify herself to make him more comfortable. She does not perform the kind of accommodating, uncomplicated femininity that would have been so much easier to absorb. She is exactly, fully, uncompromisingly herself. And something in Elon Musk, the boy who grew up in a house where the people closest to him were not fully themselves, not fully present, not fully there, recognizes her. The way a person who has been cold for a very long time recognizes warmth, not intellectually, with the whole body. He pursues her with the same intensity he brings to everything else in his life, completely, relentlessly, without much regard for the possibility of failure. Because failure, to Elon Musk, has never been a reason not to try. It has only ever been information. They marry, they build a life together, they have children, and for a while, for a beautiful, imperfect, completely real while, it works. And then Nevada, their first son, 10 weeks old, healthy, whole, put to sleep in his crib one night with every reason in the world to wake up in the morning. He did not wake up. Sudden infant death syndrome, there are no words. There has never been a language in any culture that is adequate to the specific, particular, permanent devastation of losing a child. There is only the before and the after, and the enormous, silent, unbridgeable distance between them. Justine needed to collapse. She needed to let the grief be as large as it actually was, to cry in the open, to fall apart in front of people, to honor the enormity of what had been lost by allowing herself to be as broken at the loss warranted. Elon could not do that, could not stop. Not because he did not love Nevada. He loved him. He loves him still. But the machinery of his survival, the pattern built into him since childhood, the one that said motion is safety, building is protection, stopping means the unbearable things catch up, that machinery kicked in. He went back to work within days. He poured himself into SpaceX, into Tesla, into the companies that were still fragile and fighting for survival and needed everything he had. And Justine watched the man she loved, the man who had chosen her because she was fully herself, disappear. Not from the house, from the relationship, from the particular kind of presence that a marriage requires to survive something unsurvivable. He was there and he was gone, and she grieved alone. Neither of them was wrong. Both of them were trying to survive the thing that breaks most people permanently. But they were surviving in different directions, and the distance between those directions, quiet at first, then wider still, became something neither of them knew how to cross. The marriage ended, and Elon Musk, for the first time in his professional adult life, experienced something that all his intelligence and all his money and all his relentless forward momentum could not solve, a loss that was simply a loss, without a lesson, without a silver lining, without a fourth rocket to build when the third one fails. Just loss, and the particular aching silence of a man who is extraordinary at everything except sitting inside his own pain. He remarried Tallulah Riley, an actress warm and bright and genuinely, generously loving in ways that Elon, still carrying the unprocessed grief of his first marriage, still moving at the speed that had always been his primary defense against feeling too much, needed desperately, and did not yet know how to receive. They divorced, he married her again, they divorced again, and through all of it, through every ending, every new beginning, every attempt to build something that would hold, the world watched. And the world was unkind. Columnists wrote pieces about his judgment. Commentators dissected his pattern. People who had never been inside a single moment of his actual life offered confident analyses of his failures. And Elon Musk, the man who can withstand the pressure of 3 consecutive rocket explosions, who can sit across from bankruptcy and not blink, who has been publicly wrong about major predictions, and walked back into the room the next day without apology, that man felt the weight of it, not in public, never in public, but in the quiet, in the moments between everything else, in the particular heaviness of a person who is trying to love and failing and trying again and failing again and still refusing to stop trying. Because somewhere inside Elon Musk, underneath all the armor and all the ambition and all the extraordinary apparatus of a life built on forward momentum, is a boy who still believes that somewhere there is a person who will see him, not the CEO, not the visionary, not the man on the magazine cover or the voice in the documentary or the name attached to the stock price. Him, the boy who read the encyclopedia, the boy who felt everything too much, the boy who built walls because the world was not safe, and who has spent his entire adult life secretly, desperately hoping that one person will be brave enough to climb over them. And that woman, the one who will change everything, she is not going to be who you expect. She is not going to be the most beautiful woman in the room, though she may be. She is not going to be the most accomplished, or the most famous, or the most impressive, by any of the metrics the world uses to measure impressiveness. She is going to be something rarer than all of those things. She is going to be present completely, uncomplicatedly, undistractedly present in a world that is constantly performing, constantly managing impressions, constantly optimizing the version of themselves that gets released into the world. She is going to be the person who simply shows up as herself, without a strategy, without a campaign, without an agenda beyond the radical, nearly extinct act of being genuinely, fully there. And Elon Musk, a man whose mind processes approximately 10 0 inputs simultaneously at every waking moment, is going to feel her presence the way a compass feels north. Immediately, without needing to calculate it, without needing to think, there, that person, that is the one. But here is what I need you to understand about this woman. She did not become this person by accident. She did not wake up one morning simply being fully present and genuinely herself and unafraid of someone else's intensity. She built it the way everything worth having is built, through difficulty, through the kind of experiences that either break you or forge you into something that can hold weight. She has her own story, her own childhood that was not entirely gentle, her own relationships that ended before she was ready, her own grief, her own failures, her own seasons of wondering whether the things she most wanted were actually available to a person like her. She has been told she is too much or not enough, or that her ambition is inconvenient, or that her emotional depth is exhausting, or that the version of love she is looking for does not actually exist outside of books and films, and the kind of wishful thinking that adults are supposed to grow out of. And she chose deliberately, quietly, sometimes painfully not to believe any of it. She chose to become the person she needed to be not for him. She does not even know him yet. She is becoming it for herself because she understood something either through wisdom or through the particular education that only experience and loss can provide. She understood that you cannot give what you do not have. You cannot offer presence if you are not present within yourself. You cannot offer real love if you have not done the real work of becoming someone who loves from fullness rather than from hunger. You cannot change everything for another person if you have not first changed everything for yourself. And she did that work quietly, without an audience, without a guarantee that it would lead anywhere in particular. She did it because it was the right thing to do, because she is the kind of person who does the right thing, even when no one is watching, especially when no one is watching. And that quality, that bone, deep, unperformative integrity, is what will change Elon Musk in ways that no amount of success or external validation has ever been able to touch. Let me tell you what she will change. She will change the way he experiences time. Not the time of deadlines and launch windows and quarterly projections, the other time. The time that exists between the important things, the unhurried, unoptimized, completely unproductive time of a Sunday morning when there is nowhere to be and nothing to achieve, and the only thing required of you is to be present with the person sitting across from you. He has not been good at that time. He has not trusted it. His whole life has been built on the principle that idle time is wasted time, that every moment not pointed at a goal is a moment subtracted from the mission. She will teach him, not with instructions, not with arguments, but simply by being someone whose presence makes the unhurried time feel like the most important time of all. She will teach him that the space between things is not empty. It is where life actually happens. She will change the way he processes pain. He has spent decades accelerating past pain, using motion as an anesthetic building, as a way of not feeling. She will not stop him from building. She is not that kind of woman. But she will, by being genuinely, quietly, consistently present for her own pain, model something for him that no one has managed to model before. That feeling does not destroy you. That sitting inside the difficult thing, fully, without escape, without the relief of a problem to solve, is survivable. That on the other side of pain, fully felt, is not collapse. It is clarity. It is the kind of clarity that comes only to people who do not run. And she will change the way he sees himself, not by telling him he is extraordinary. He has heard that his entire life from people who needed something from him. She will change it by seeing him clearly, the extraordinary parts and the broken parts and the parts that are still, after everything, trying to become something better, and choosing him anyway. Not because the good outweighs the bad, because she understands that in real human beings, the good and the bad are not separate things that can be weighed against each other. They are the same material. The wound and the gift are made of the same stuff. The obsession that makes him impossible to live with is the same obsession that puts rockets in space. The emotional walls that have cost him relationships are built from the same material as the extraordinary resilience that has allowed him to survive failures that would have finished almost anyone else. She will see all of it as one thing, one person, complicated and contradictory, and completely irreducibly real. And she will say, not with words, but with the daily, undramatic, completely radical act of staying, yes, this person. I choose this person every day, again and again, without conditions, without a performance review, without a list of improvements she needs him to make before she can commit. She will choose him. And that daily, unannounced, completely human choosing will change everything. Now, I need to stop talking about them and talk about you, because you have been listening to this story, and some part of you, the part that is always listening beneath the surface, the part that knows things before your mind has caught up, that part has been thinking about someone specific, has it not? Someone in your life, or someone you lost, or someone you have not yet met, but have somehow always known was coming. And I want to ask you something. Are you becoming the person that someone like that deserves? Not in the shallow sense, not the resume version, not the gym progress, and the career advancement, and the personal development and you consume, and the image you are carefully curating for the world, the version. Are you doing the actual work? The unglamorous, uninstagrammable, deeply private work of becoming someone who is present. Someone who can love from fullness rather than from hunger. Someone who has sat inside their own pain long enough to no longer be controlled by it. Someone who has looked honestly at their own patterns, the walls they built, the ways they disappear when things get hard, the strategies they use to seem more together than they actually are, and chosen deliberately to become something more honest, because here is the truth that nobody in the self-help space wants to say out loud. You cannot attract the right person while you are hiding, not the right person for you. That person will see through the performance. And what they see, the real you underneath all the management, will either draw them in or push them away.